It's not how this life is.
Hey, speaking of millions and millions.
As Pat McAfee, the boys.
Millions.
And millions.
That is how many readers are checking out Detroit Lions on SI. And we got
buying Rolexes.
The Macaron. The Godfather, the DOC. Had too many drinks on the tee. He is
there we
here.
go.
Doc Macaron. What's up, Doc? How we doing?
Cheers, Doc.
Fellas, cheers.
Cheers.
There's
the world.
Hey, put that down, Doc.
Happier media member than the DOC. It's the last week of Detroit Lions practice coverage. We'll share with everybody, break the rules. Thursday, Dan Campbell's going to talk to the media. We're going to watch Lions practice. And after that, I won't step foot at Lions practice for 5 weeks. We can talk about boat parties. We can talk about the Pistons. We can talk about the Lions. We can talk about whatever we want, but this is it. This is what we work for. I'll have 5-6 weeks off with nothing to do. So you know what that means? Fire up the Twitter page. I'm just going to be drinking and tweeting.
No,
that's all you can ask for, right, guys?
Yeah, Doc. Yeah, there we go, Doc. Take a drink, Doc. All right, there we go. We're good now, Doc.
Hey,
whoa,
no.
Whoa, Doc. We don't have sponsorships right now, Doc.
I don't care. I'm looking for what. Listen, drink up, baby. Yes.
Look how big my hand is in this can.
Oh, yeah. Drink up.
Look how big my hand is. I got a mini can.
Hey,
drink up, fellas. Everyone in the chat, drink up. Cheers. Let's go. What are we talking about? What's been interesting for you guys? Any interesting Lions news?
Well, I'll start by saying two things before we get into the Frank stuff. First thing, we got to get rid of that bath water you're drinking and get you some garage beer. Number two, how'd you play in the golf outing? I didn't get to ask you, Doc. You had a great time. Before we get to Frank, how'd you do playing out there with all the media? I saw you were with Neil Rule.
Yeah.
Out there, man?
I'm a big-time media member that the esteemed media gets invited to see Detroit Golf Club. They like the fact that I dress nice and I can behave myself properly. I can hang with anybody from the dive bars to the private golf clubs. The Doc is a universal
he's
enigma.
A chameleon.
Yeah, chameleon. And I this is the craziest. I'm so upset because I went to the range Saturday, went to the range Sunday. I was locked in. I'm like, I think my shots are kind of coming into form. I think I know how to hit the golf ball. I think I can hit it somewhat straight. Little bit of a distance problem, but I'm getting better. And I tee off on the first hole. Boom. It's a beautiful drive in the fairway. I'm yelling at Brad Gatley. Look at me. I'm in the fairway. Brad's looking at me like, shut the hell up. Stop bragging. I've already heard this song and dance. And then I heard the news about Frank Ragnow. And it was just like, no, because I was on the second hole and that drive was absolutely beautiful. And so it kind of took away the carefree nature of it was supposed to be a day off on a Monday. I had planned to kind of just enjoy the golf outing and talk a bunch of junk to every single person that I came in contact with. But Frank Ragnow decided to ruin my day. But in some weird cosmic universe, I played well. I shot under 100. I shot 96 legitimately at Detroit Golf Club.
You did it
but because irons were on fire, driver on fire, chipping and putting. Oh my God. I'd have an 8-foot putt. I'd hit it and end up having a 20-foot putt. So look at that form. Look at that sexy man out there.
Beautiful. It is.
I got it within 10 feet. So ball up in the air. Look at that form. Beautiful tempo. Eyes down, head down. So I can.
Should we zoom in?
Is it?
Let's go to zoom in. There we go.
I mean, this guy's
look at that tempo. Look at that tempo.
Wow.
and that's inebriated.
That ain't Tiger Woods, baby. That's Tiger.
What a shot, man!
Yeah, that's you know what, Doc. That's just fundamental golf there. I'm glad you had a good time. I want to ask you. I mean, you're out there. You kind of already hinted at it, but when the Frank news broke, you talked about your reaction. But can you talk about what everyone else was kind of? I bet everyone was just talking at the event. What's your first thought when you come to mind when you talk about Frank Ragnow, just kind of his career, how much you meant to the Lions, and kind of his impact without Frank now? What goes through your head?
It's unfortunate, man. It's a bummer, right? It's a bummer. And then now too, there's a kind of a weird sense too that people were like, that doesn't mean, oh, look, he put out a nice statement on Instagram. That doesn't mean he wasn't unhappy with his contract. Guys, when a player has no guaranteed dollars and they could be cut at any minute, you think he was happy? And those that talked about it knew about it back in March. So this is not all stuff that just popped up out of the blue. So look, when you make a decision, I don't know if some people in the chat have the ability to add layers to their decision making. So they think, oh, his health was the single only reason that he retired. You don't think he thought about, well, if something happens to me, I'm out, done, no more money. He looked at his contract and said, I don't have any more guaranteed dollars. They drafted my replacement. My body hurts. It was not a single reason he made that choice. He definitely wanted, any player wants common sense. It's not like shocking news. Hey, Booner, I could guarantee you $10 million or I'm going to guarantee you $0. Which option would you be happier with? So it's not like a shocking.
I'll take
thing.
0. I like the grind, Doc.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. But every NFL player that has 0 guaranteed dollars is unhappy. So does it get out or does it not get out? So that's real. Clearly, it's one of those deals. I looked at it. My first thought was, man, it hurts the Lions' chances. It hurts them. It hurts their chances to win a Super Bowl. I hope he has a healthy lifestyle outside of the NFL. I understand clearly that it's a situation in which he didn't feel like his body could hold up. His quality of life would be impacted, he felt, and he already had $50 million made in the National Football League. He doesn't need to do it. But outside of that, I'm a human being. I care about how his quality of life is. But my first thoughts was, man, the Lions' chances took a hit. And I just thought, man, if he could just go one more year, it would have helped this football team. It's not going to happen, and it's a dip. Now you have to kind of worry a little bit, drink a little more, because you got Graham Glasgow and Tate Ratledge, a veteran and a rookie, and you got a guy that's only played, 15 starts in 51 games that they just signed. So it's a downgrade. And so for those that, I'm not going to disrespect Frank Ragnow and just be like the fans that are like, you lost Frank Ragnow, no big deal. Next man up. Not the case. I respect Frank Ragnow and the all-pro that he was. That's a huge loss. The Lions' Super Bowl chances took a hit. That's what happened.
Yeah, Doc, I do want to throw out there, I want to ask you this. Obviously, they're going to take a step back when it comes to that offensive line. Do you still believe with what they have with Tate and Graham, Taylor, Panay, and Christian Mahogany, and then the guys, after that, do you still believe this unit can be top 10 and dare I say somehow, some way they get back into that top, like, let's say 6 or 7 range by the end of the season? Or do you think that, hey, this is going to be an absolute battle and they don't really have a shot to get back into that spot again?
No, I perceived it to be like in the top 15 of the National Football League with the offensive line. I like Ratledge at right guard. I like Christian Mahogany, what they can do. You still have the best right tackle in the National Football League. You hope that Taylor Decker, his drop-off is not drastic. You hope that he can kind of maintain and protect Jared Goff. But here's the problem. If Graham Glasgow, everyone's hoping that if the veteran gets the nod, that he can step it up. But at 33 years old, you got to remember, the Broncos were not impressed anymore. The Lions were a team that took another chance on him. And last year was not that great. Many people do believe he's a better center than maybe even a guard. But, you pretty much got to pay attention to that A-gap, and you hope that those middle linebackers don't salivate and try to get after Jared Goff, because any disruption to Jared Goff's timing, that's a huge problem. So, but here's a silver lining. Hank Fraley is one of the elite offensive line coaches, and if that doesn't work out with Graham Glasgow, Tate Ratledge is the guy. And look, guys, when you posted about Ian Rappaport's report from the NFL Network saying that the Lions knew, it's not really terribly all that much news breaking. They drafted a guy that with a similar body type. They found, last year they went with Mahogany. The Lions kind of had a feeling that, okay, if it wasn't going to be an immediate retirement this year, that in the next year or two, we got to look to the future. And Brad Holmes, I think you don't have to worry. He knows the deal. He knows the chessboard. And so I don't think Ian's report is all that groundbreaking. Knowing that, I posted as well. I said, look at these body types. Look at the fact that Tate played a lot at center at first team reps at OTAs. They're same body types. And my opinion was a little more player friendly. I was like, Frank should just hold out for more money. Now, he took my advice in sort of a way in taking my opinion. He did the permanent holdout. He's like, I don't want any money. He's like, I just want to go home and I'm going to permanently hold out for no more football playing. And it stinks, but I think that Dan Campbell, Hank Fraley, and that offensive staff we'll figure out a way to manage it and maybe take a gamble. Maybe you start the rookie and just let him learn. But in a year where you want to win a Super Bowl, I'm more leaning toward and thinking like most that Graham Glasgow will be the starter. But it would not shock me, and don't be surprised. You heard it here. If Tate Ratledge starts the year day one under center, don't be surprised.
And Doc, as we keep diving into this conversation about Frank Ragnow, do you find yourself more concerned about the offensive line going into the season or the coordinator situation? Because Booner kind of talked about that question at the beginning of the show, and I was just intrigued to see where you would stand on that. More concerning, coordinators or offensive line play?
No, more concerned along the offensive line. You're going to have two new pieces, Mahogany and Ratledge. They're going to get tested by some great defensive lines. And the Bears and the division is going to be wild. You play against some good. The Eagles game is going to be wild to see how Vic Fangio attacks young defensive linemen, young offensive linemen. That defensive line of the Eagles is going to be ready. And Vic Fangio, when he sees the young inexperienced, he's going to be salivating. He's going to be thrilled to try and test this offensive line. Look, the coaching staff is going to be fine. I know it's a concern for a lot of people on the outside, but you guys should know Kelvin Shepherd is just an extension of Aaron Glenn with his own ideas. He got taught by the Lions' former defensive coordinator. He's a former player. He's going to relate to the players. His intensity is already starting to shine through. He's going to be super aggressive, and I think he'll find a rotation that will try and keep all these guys healthy and get after it. So I'm pretty happy I'm happy with John Morton too. Now the question that people are going to wonder is the intricacies of his play calling. Can he use the knowledge that he gains in the first quarter to kind of expose defenses? Because nobody was doing it better than Ben Johnson. He was a mastermind at setting up opposing defensive coordinators with some plays that he drew up that were just great calls that were set up by looks that he got in the first quarter, and he found something to be able to use in the fourth quarter. But guys, remember, the head of the operation, the head of the table, just like the Doc. Doc's the head of the table. You guys are the head of the table of your own show. The head of the table of the Detroit Lions is Dan Campbell. Let's cheers to that. The guy is underrated as an offensive mind. I can't tell you enough. He worked under Sean Payton. He understands offensive X's and O's like no other. So if John Morton ain't cutting it, then what we're going to do is he'll sit down, he'll have a water with the Doc, and he'll be like, all right, Doc, off the record, I should take over, shouldn't I? I'll be like, have some Metallica music, and we'll be like, yeah, if you need to take over, take it over. He did it before. So I look, John Morton installed this offense. I don't have a fear that his play calling is going to be bad, because that talent, again, I love the talent across that offensive landscape. I think the more concern is going to be on defense. Can they step it up opposite of Aiden, and can the secondary grow to the level that we all need? I think the reason the outside world is scared is because nobody heard of John Morton other than he was a failure with the Jets, and that's a big deal. And Kelvin Shepherd was an underrated linebacker, but not a household name. But internally, these guys are great. It's an extension of the coaching staff. Don't worry about the coaching staff. Just worry about one thing. These guys got to stay healthy, because if they don't, they're not going to rebound as well as they did last year.
Doc, what do you think they do with the because they just free up some money, $9 million, and he did it post June 1st. So what do you think that means kind of for, I mean, you could go Anzalone, but maybe Zadarius. What do you think they do with that extra couple million after Frank's retirement? Where do they think they go with it?
Yep. I want to address real fast Mr. Buttlicker.
Yep, Bill Buttlicker.
What a lovely name. I'm not sure that's your government name, or you're probably a guy that took the name of his wife. Probably had to change it when you got married. I don't mind. I don't mind if you had to do that. That's fine. There's a lot of guys who take the name of their wives, and probably Bill's one of them. Look, we're all kidding around here. But I can honestly admit that, I am the CEO of the operation that I'm running here. I am the CEO of the Detroit Sports Podcast, which was partnered with one of the iconic sports brands. So I run things. So I'm very happy in that when people say, I always laugh when people say, when they message me, because I haven't really kind of overtly said it, they say, that guy should be fired. That guy sucks. Well, unfortunately, guys, I'm here forever. I will always be able to throw out comments on a podcast. I'm here forever. I run the ship. I am the outlet. I own it.
You are the head of the table, Doc.
I am technically the head of the table. And I think you guys know I'm successful at it. So, Mr. Bill, your comment is factually inaccurate. I'm just being honest.
Let them know, Doc.
Let them know what they got going on here, that I'm the CEO of my own media company for the last 15 years. So if the first 15 years were good, I don't think I'm going to fall off the map anytime soon, unless, I retire and just say I call it a day. But I like this too much. I literally love it. I'm enjoying having the time of my life in my mid-40s. Now, how to spend Brad's money. This is a challenge, right? Everyone's asking me, what do we do with this? What do we do with this extra money? $9 million saved, bonus money saved. Thank you, Frank, for some extra doing it June 1st to let the team kind of benefit from the salary cap, which everybody has talked about. What do? I think it just goes right to Aiden's bank account. I think that if it was 38, you go to 42. I don't know. More and more of you guys, I will say this chat, and a lot of people are saying, man, let Aiden play on the 5th year option. Don't pay him. I'm like, man, it sounds appealing. That's what I said early on. But I just think that Brad is so loyal that he's not going to be shrewd. But he's kind of been shrewd maybe with Alex. Maybe we are wrong. And now we're starting to see the Grim Reaper GM who will not pay guys that are coming off of injuries and guys that are, have 5th year options. Maybe he won't do it. Maybe Alex will be next. Maybe he's going to be gone. I don't know. I'm more of the go by the pattern that I see. And so, to answer your question, I think that the money will go towards 2 players, Alex and Aiden Hutchinson.
Doug, I want to throw out there too. I know, and I actually don't know the exact day that you'll be heading to Allen Park this week. I'm guessing maybe tomorrow. Are you heading down there, Doc?
In my opening monologue, I quietly violated the rules. I'll do it differently this time. The next time I go out to Allen Park will be 24 hours before Friday. So let's put that together. Wink, wink, what day that's going to be. It's my favorite day of the week. It's the day that every single Doc and Jock podcast comes out. And yes, like I said earlier, when I started and came on here, I know that you guys get enamored with my aura that I come on with. But yes, it'll be Thursday.
Thursday, all right. Minus the aura, I just want to know when you go out there, what are some things you're going to be looking for tomorrow, and what you might have heard over the last few days of OTAs. Obviously, we don't get to see a lot or hear a lot, but what are you going to be looking for heading into tomorrow and some storylines after last week? Yeah,
no doubt. Great question. OTA last week was a blessing. But a lot of us reporters are kind of feeling it now. It's the end of the line. Like I went out there without I just didn't even care to take a roster. I just went out there with my notebook, forgot my pen. We're all like on fumes reporting on the Lions. And the first time out there last time was a buzzkill because Dan rattled off 20 guys that weren't there. I'm like Terrion, Broderick, Tyleek Williams, Amon-Ra. I was like, this stinks. I was disappointed. I wanted to see a lot more guys. Hopefully more will show up this time around. I'm not a personal fan of the schedule. The third day is like getaway day, for most people. It's the third day of practice. So maybe you're not getting I would have loved to have seen J-Mo torch Ennis live and in person, but it's not going to happen. So here's what I want to see. Here's what the DOC will be documenting and writing about, which you can find hopefully when practice ends, within 60 minutes or so. I try to empty the notebook and give you exactly what I saw live and in person. Others don't do that. Others pretend that they're there and write about it. I'm there. And I will share that I'm going to be looking at Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen. I want to see the backups play a lot better. I want to see the second and third string offensive line units play a lot better. I want to see J-Mo flex on someone. I want to see Ennis try to battle. I want to see a little push on J-Mo. I want to see a little effort to try and stop Jameson Williams. I want to see growth from Ennis Rakestraw. I want to see, hopefully, Terry and Arnold out there, what we can do. Now, one thing that I'm disappointed in myself that I was not focused on at all, and he was so quiet out there that he just didn't catch my attention. I did not even pay attention at all last week to DJ Reed. Like, he was quiet. It was just, I think he locked down the receiver so well that I didn't even write his number down all that much. So I will be for sure locked in on DJ Reed, who he's covering, what he looks like, how he's out there, my initial impressions. So those are the main things I want to see. And hopefully Jared Goff has a lot of opportunities. And again, Ahmed, I thought he was great. I thought that, hopefully another chance that we can see him do his bull rush and have a chance to see Marcus and Aiden do their thing. If they can continue their early start to the offseason, that's what I'll be looking for.
We're going more into the offseason now, Doc. And I want to jump forward. And it's a conversation that me and Boone got pretty fired up about. I said, as of right now, because of the Frank Ragnow situation, the coordinators, I do not view the Lions as a team that's going to win the Super Bowl this year. I think that they're going to be very good through the regular season. When it comes to the playoffs, I do not think that they will be hosting the Lombardi. Where do you stand on that? Do you think that this Lions team, I know that they lost Frank, I know that they lost the coordinators, but they're still a team that's going to go out there and they could easily win the Super Bowl? Not easily, but win the Super Bowl. Or do you view them as, hey, they're going to be a good team, but not Super Bowl this year?
Oh, man, you're trying to get me in trouble, huh? This is crazy, Lucas, and I'm going to say something to you. First and foremost, I got the first one down, and I'm going to go to the second one because I feel good. I feel good. But this is crazy, right? Because I had a feeling today as I was, walking in the morning time. I'm like, what are the guys going to ask me? I had a feeling you were going to ask me this. I had a feeling this type of question would be asked to me. And first and foremost, this cheers is an appreciation for Lucas. I like your online game. I like your questions. Boone, Jeff, you guys are great. But this one's to you, Lucas. I like your questions that you throw out there online. You talked about the importance of defense today. It caught my attention. I'm like, that Lucas is underrated. I think you're doing some good stuff out there.
Shout out. Appreciate you.
Yes. Doc. Yes. Shout out to you, Lucas. Cheers to you. Now, you put me on the spot.
Take a quick swallow.
I'm torn. Get your mind out of the gutter, Booner. I'm torn because I don't want to say that the window's closed and piss off everybody. Okay. And I thought, okay, when I answer this question, I have to give a reason that has been permeating in my head throughout my fandom. This is the fan in me. This is not the guy that's the professional, the analyst, the guy that is responsible for an educated opinion. This is the fandom. And I said, if Booner, Jeff, or Lucas ask you, can they win a Super Bowl? How are you going to answer it? Here's what I'm going to say. I personally feel that when you have elevated expectations, this is me talking, John Maakaron, not the doc, not the podcaster. This is John. This is kind of how I roll. When you have super, super high expectations, like the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl, and you truly believe it, and it doesn't happen, I feel like the devastation is more. So that's how I am as a fan. I'm invested. I care. I love the feeling of winning. I hate the feeling of losing. Hate it. It hurts. It hurts too much that I can't focus. It hurts too much that I stay up till 5 o'clock replaying the game. Why did this happen? Why did the Lions lose to the 49ers? Why did this happen? Why can't this fan base get that closure, get that Super Bowl win? This deserving fan base, get that Super Bowl. Why can't they get it? This fan base deserves it. Why can't I experience that? The ultimate joy in my life would be to watch with my eyes, maybe in the stadium or maybe with my nephews and with you guys, watching the Lions win the Super Bowl. So to me, to protect myself, I lower my expectations. I say it's not going to happen. I don't expect it. I never can tell myself, John, expect the Lions to win a Super Bowl, because then it just sets you up to get that gut punch, to hurt really bad because you want something so bad, really bad. Like you can almost feel how good it would feel to celebrate with your friends on Woodward or with the whole Lions community, with 1 million people drunk and high and just having the time of their life. You can see it. You can taste it. But I can't expect that. So I am a person that lowers his expectations. And I just tell myself, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. It's just not going to be expected in my heart and soul. So that if they prove me wrong,
oh, that's a dog.
When it does happen, then I feel like the joy will be superseded in my shock, in my elation, in my joy, in my holy crap, they proved me wrong. They won the Super Bowl. Like I would be stunned. I would be tearful. I would be like, all the effort I put into the job and talking, the 5,000 hours of podcast would just be a relief, would be like, yes. But I'm the kind of guy that lowers the expectation bar to protect myself from not feeling as hurt when they don't meet that. So I always say that's kind of the thesis of how I write, which is I can't sit here and tell you guys I've been hurt too much. I've been hurt as a Lions fan. Like I woke up, I remember when Barry quit. I remember when they hired the hope and love. I felt that we got Matt Millen, 4-time Super Bowl champion linebacker. He's going to turn it around. That flopped. I have all this disappointment in my head from 46 years of that. So I'm more of a defensive fan, which is I can never say I expect the Lions to win a Super Bowl. My thesis this year, I'm not going to change it no matter what. I don't care if Booner, Natalie, Mike, I don't care if the whole world says, Doc, you're a Debbie Downer, doom and gloom, calm down. My thesis from the second I saw that draft was I got hope for the future with the Lions. I got terrible fear for this year. That's the way I feel. I don't feel like they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to, fall apart. They're going to be a winning team. I predicted them to be 11-6, but for something's going to happen. Something, whatever it may be. Last year it was Jared Goff having a disastrous game. Old Goff came back, 20 injuries. Something always happens. Something. So in my mind, to share with you, that's what I thought truly is how I'm going to answer that question. I always lower the expectation because for me, and I'm not saying anybody, you guys can call me a fake fan, call me whatever you want. For me, that helps me move forward from the disappointment because I hate losing to the degree that it ruins my day. It ruins my life to the point that I say it's easier for me to just not expect it. And if it happens, I'll let all the bandwagon jumpers enjoy it and say they were there all the way around, and I'll enjoy it too. But I can't. My answer to your question, Lucas, in a roundabout way, hopefully you guys can relate to my plight, but my answer is no.
Doc, what'd you think about the signing that happened today? They brought in another interior offensive lineman, Tristan Colon, played guard, played center. Because I guess if you look at the depth of this offensive line now without Frank, you kind of had Graham as the sixth man. Now he's starting at center, but after him, you don't really have much there. Maybe you have Tate that can probably play center, but then you have Colby Sorsdahl, Yodi. But what'd you think of the signing now? A guy who's experienced, he can play center, he can play guard. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, good experience. I like it. It's competition. I still think that, he's a guy that's not going to burn the, depth chart up too much, but it's a good signing. I think that Christian laid it out there in one of his 8 guys that he thought would be a replacement. A lot of people were looking at Cologne. Versatile. I think he can do some things. And I think his numbers were good too, in terms of not giving up a lot of sacks. So that's a great signing. And anytime you can have some competition at that spot, it's going to be great. But for me personally, I just want to see Colby Sorsdahl and what he can do too. Like he's going to be given a chance maybe at center. I want to see, does he kind of take advantage of knowing hey, wait a minute, my chance to stay on this team. If I maybe become an expert, I can be the backup. I can be Tate Ratledge's backup. I got a job for the next decade, like an Evan Brown kind of situation. So I'm very fascinated. I like the signing. I thought it was professional. I thought that it was great that they kind of addressed it pretty quickly. He was a guy that many people believe fit the Detroit Lions. And so I think it's a B+ signing, great addition to the team. Can't wait to see what he brings to training camp.
Yeah, Doc, I want to just bring up kind of like I guess this question's more so, I want you to kind of break down expectations, a little bit of a kind of a player. I know you guys do the player spotlights on your website, which I think is awesome. You guys did the UDFA, the edge rush out of Houston, I believe it was today. One player, though, I'm interested to get your feedback and thoughts on and what he will do this year. Second-year corner, Ennis Rakestraw, because he's I wasn't really out. He might have spoke with the media. I know you guys wrote an article about him. I haven't had time to read it. I will read it, Doc, just so you know. But I watched all the interviews last week, and guys like DJ Reed, even Jack Campbell, guys kept mentioning Ennis Rakestraw and saying that he's a guy that's standing out. Do you think there's maybe a rise of expectations out of him going into this second year? And if so, where do you kind of see him fitting into this defense outside of just special teams?
Yeah, no doubt. The one thing, Booner, a lot of the things I love about you, but I love your just honesty, your unabashed honesty. He's like, I know I saw the headline. I didn't quite read it yet. I will get to it. And so I love your
a lot of things come across my desk, Doc. It takes a while.
I can understand that. And one day my stuff will just be at the top of the notification list and you just read it first. But I'm getting there. I'm working hard. I'm glad you're seeing this stuff And it makes me really, really happy. And like I said, I love your honesty. That's the best part. No matter how much I beg and plead, you still tell me I didn't read it, and right out in the open, which is honest and fair. But I'll say this about Ennis Rakestraw. Basically, it's his first crack at being an outside cornerback. And I think it's great. He'll have an opportunity to compete and learn from DJ Reed and Terry and Arnold. I think that if you have depth there, that helps. Look, the issue at hand is going to be, can he stay healthy? That first year puts him on notice that, all right, this is a guy that's kind of dealing with a lot of injuries, and he's got to kind of learn by baptism by fire. And there's no better baptism by fire than guarding Jameson Williams. This is great. This is going to speed up his development. I thought that in our reports, he had an interception in his hand last week, but he dropped it. And he got taken advantage of early. There were times where Jared Goff knew where he was, and he was the target, and he got picked on. But then he rebounded, and he had a good series of back-to-back reps where he was right there. So it's similarly to a rookie. It's that he's going to have growing pains, but his role is going to be versatile, kind of depth situations where if Terry needs a breather, he'll get out there. And I do like the idea of a combination of Reed, Terry and Arnold, and Ennis Rakestraw on the outside. I like it because I think Amik Robertson's going to lock down the nickel spot. But the way that the Lions operate is they just want good defensive backs. So if you can train Ennis Rakestraw on the outside, get him some more experience, that can only bode well for the defense. I think he's got a chance to shine. And part of the reason is he wants to shut everybody up. He's hearing it. So you guys that are chirping online, calling him a bust already, he knows it. He feels it. He's writing it in his notepad. Hey, you guys doubt me. That's the best recipe to kind of have a comeback player, is a guy that's like, oh, you guys don't think I got it? On the other side of the coin, though, I don't know what the heck is going on with these second-round picks. Like, there's always this stigma with the Lions in the second round. They hit the first round. They hit the depth piece. That second round is just filled with guys that have a lot of question marks. I'm like, what is up with the second round? Is it because of that little intermediate stage that you got to find that right player between 30 and 60 that's just a little bit challenging? And every GM has that one thing that they struggle with. Second round for Brad Holmes. Hopefully Ratledge is an outlier, but Ennis Rakestraw, my goodness. I hope that he turns it around. And I like his competitiveness. I like his grit. I just hope his body holds up, because when you have those question marks athletically, hopefully his work in the gym, adding that muscle, will keep him healthy.
Yeah, I'm excited, Doc, to see Rakestraw out there. I think he can bring a lot to the table with his physicality. And you're talking about the outside guys there. Somebody that I don't think is getting talked about a lot, and I understand so, because he's been in the NFL for a long time, never really been like a household name by any means, but Avonte Maddox, Detroit guy, I believe he went to King, but he played with the Philadelphia Eagles, won a Super Bowl there last year, and if you watch him throughout his career, he's been a very steady NFL player. How do you think he's going to fit into this mix? Do you think that he's going to be somebody that could possibly get cut before camp? The whole Avonte Maddox situation, what are you expecting?
Yeah, I like his veteran savviness. I like his gritty getup. I think that he's got an opportunity to work himself into that rotation to be the number 3 safety. I like that. I think that gives stability to the defensive backs room. I like it. I like what he brings to the table. Clearly Branch, who is a good second-round pick. Kirby Joseph, top of the line. They're going to be out there quite a bit, but different packages will allow Avonte Maddox to compete. And I think that there's opportunities too to kind of model and showcase a little bit for Dan Jackson what to get out there. I think those are the 4 guys that most people believe will have the biggest chance to get out there. But pay attention to this name. Ian Connolly, I think, is a guy out there kind of showcasing what he's about. He's gritty. He's a guy that I think is going to compete pretty hard to probably maybe earn a spot on that practice squad. So keep that name pretty the unheralded player there. So pay attention to what he brings to the
is
table.
He the one out of Grand Valley State?
Exactly.
Former teammate of Caleb Czarnik.
So there you go. Look at him. He's making noise and competing. And so I think the Lions like what he was about, caught the attention of the coaching staff. Avonte Maddox, savvy veteran. Look, past his prime, but I think somebody that has the experience to kind of be like a locker room leader, kind of another coach on the field for these young guys. And also, too, listen, anytime you have an opportunity to learn, like, hey, what were those guys doing in the secondary of the Eagles? That's just an amazing wealth of information that you can gather. Like, all right, what was that Vic Fangio doing? Like, how the heck did Cooper get out there like that? What's a secret? What's the deal? And to pass that along to Branch, Kirby, any nugget of info that you can get, genius signing by Brad Holmes.
And Doc, the one player that I mean, it's a tricky one right now to kind of predict, but Tate's kind of taking a lot of the attention, rightfully so, because of the Frank Ragnow stuff. But a player that's kind of flying under the radar is Miles Frazier, who they drafted out of LSU. Is a really good player, fell into the late of the draft, 6th round, I believe. What's a fair expectation for him? Do you see? I know injuries could always happen, and there's a chance you can see the field. But what would be a fair thing to expect out of him? Could you see him taking the field this year? Is he more of a stash guy, and maybe in the future you see more of him, or do you think is a immediate impact guy that could see time this year?
No, I don't see immediate impact unless there's an injury. I do think that he's got a hill to climb to get to the spot there. I think that he's a developmental player, similarly to Gio Manu. I think he's a guy that's going to work his way in. I think that he's a great, hopefully a versatile option that can maybe even work at center. Many people thought that maybe he was the guy nabbed at center, but I think that you're going to have a guard combo, left-right guard there that can do a lot of different things. Listen, I think he's a gritty guy that I like his film. His film coming out of college is pretty impressive. So I do think that he'll take an opportunity to develop and kind of get into that, what they call rotational guard spot. And if he gets his opportunity, I think he'll be just fine. That's another fun part about training camp is, look, OTAs, it's tough when you're not wearing pads because the physicality you don't kind of see shine through. Like, we don't know how Miles Frazier would handle some pushback from the strong defensive line, other than, in shoulder pads, other than, they're in shorts and they're working and you can see his footwork and hand placement and how he manages leverage and stuff like that. So that's pretty good. Hopefully we'll get a more of a deep dive because, like I said, Tate Ratledge sticks out. Like his, and he's wearing the number 69 jersey, which makes me laugh. Big dude. He just stands out. Gio Manu stands out. Mason Miller, the undrafted free agent. Pay attention to that name too. He's a guy, he's a kid that works hard, can play all 5 defensive line. He can play all 5 offensive line spots, and he's gritty. And he likes playing physical. So I'm looking at him as well out there. But, it's just wild how Dan Skipper, Gio Manu, and Ratledge just dominate. And in terms of their physical stature, you just have to write their names in the book in terms of, hey, I looked at his rep. And I'll say this, because not a lot of people were paying attention and maybe talked about it. Gio Manu looked okay. He was okay as a left tackle. So opening up that conversation, we're going to have that conversation when it's time for Taylor to hang it up. Do you keep Penei Sewell at right and Gio Manu at left? Or do you, I'm more like, that's Jared Goff. That's $50 million a year. I don't care how good Gio looks.
I agree.
You put Penei at the left side and you guys battle it out for the right spot. But Gio anchored well. He looks, he got better. He looked better. Footwork was better. Hand placement was there. He was not pushed back in the leverage game. He held his own. He anchored. He looked okay in certain spots. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of him and the opportunity that he presents himself in future practices down the road too in training camp. So pay attention to Gio Manu, man. That's a big man. And if his athleticism shines and he gets the fundamentals down, maybe he'll be a guy that we can say works out.
Doc, I want to throw out there real quick, probably, and I think this is a good thing. I don't think this is a bad thing, but the most hyped player out of OTAs over the last week or so has been Jameson Williams. What are your thoughts on JMO this year? Is there a legit chance, and you hear a lot of people talk about, we've talked about it on this show, of him even taking a bigger step, becoming potentially even leading the team in receiving yards? What do you think of that, and what do you think of Jameson Williams offseason and OTA so far? Is the hype real, is what I'm asking here?
That's a great question, right? It's a great question. The one-handed grab, you saw JMO, 5 pounds of muscle. Yeah, I think the hype's real. I think that he's a guy that wants to be great. I think that he knows the dollar signs are there. You look at wide receivers, they're making big-time money, $30 million a year. You got a teammate making $30 million. But I want to say this before I get into my football knowledge. Was it wrong of me to tweet that there's now – I get it. I understand it, but I don't know how to feel about it. There's a corporate JMO that we talked to, and there's the guy that was shirtless in the car inviting the gals on DM. That is uniquely different, that speak differently. So I'll ask you, who would you guys want to hang out? I think I want to hang out with number 2. I want to hang out with After Hours JMO a little bit more than I'm torn. I want to hang out with corporate JMO a little bit more and talk about X's and O's and tosses from Jared Goff, things like that. But the other guy, the guy that's like, hey, shorties, hit me up on the DM, that guy sounds like fun too. And so I'm torn. I'm like 50-50. Which one do I like? But it's funny where he goes from the same day, within 3 hours, he's like, I'm more mature. I'm ready to go. And then 3 hours later, he's shirtless in the car, screaming at the top of his lungs, hey, shorties, hit me up in the DM, slide in. And I want to only the good ones. So I found that to be very uniquely appealing. His corporate JMO versus After Hours JMO, 2 personalities, 2 different dialects. I mean, just talk like that. Listen, be yourself. We don't need corporate JMO. Send that out the window. Like, we know who you are. You don't have to be corporate. We're not going to judge you. I want to see more After Hours JMO at Allen Park. Be like, listen, Doc, tired of your shit. Write some better stuff about me. Otherwise, I'm going to send some things after you or be real. Don't be corporate. But it's okay. I understand the reasoning why you got to do it. I got to kind of play that game too. I'm not as good as he is. He's a little bit better at it and can draw more positivity. JMO is a guy that is an amazing talent. The speed is there. You see, I don't know if like I said, we all watched with that fandom. Do you like the video highlight of him blowing past Ennis Rakestraw? It looked like he was going 80% speed, and it was easy to get past Ennis Rakestraw. It looked like he was just gliding out there. It was awesome to see. And that's the great thing, is that at any one moment, JMO can turn on the jets, and he can be unbelievably unguardable. I just want to see that every single week. That's why I go out there. The talent on the field is absolutely amazing, and it's great to see Jameson Williams. I'm excited to see. I like the talent. Hopefully, if we can get this year, 2026 and 2027 with a franchise tag, if we can get 3 more years of JMO, I would be okay with that. And then let some other team pay him the $150 million when he's 26 years old, and you can get another young receiver on a young contract. Man, the hype is real. And I think this year, I was just having a conversation before we talked. I don't know if he'll ever be the 100 reception guy every single time, every single year, but I do think the 50 catches that he gets, a good chunk of them are going to be explosive plays. And he's just one of those players that when you just gravitate towards him, because he's got the personality, the likable personality, and he's got the electric flair that pays bills, that people want to come see and pay money to see. He's box office, and he's got the rare speed talent to be an explosive playmaker, and that's what people like.
And kind of behind him, you talk about that up-and-coming receiver, Doc. What do you talked about Miles Frazier, kind of the same thing that we've been asking about these guys at OTAs. What do you expect out of Isaac Tesla? Because Jameson Williams, valuable. Amon St. Brown, valuable. Sam Laporta, valuable. Tim Patrick, the chemistry between him and Jared Goff, it seems to be picking up, and I think he's very good for this team. Where does Isaac Tesla fit into that mix this year, and what do you expect from him in OTAs and training camp?
Oh, first and foremost, I want to see him out there. Hopefully he's out there this week. We can start to see. I think he's going to be a great possession receiver. I think he's going to battle a lot to be the traditional X receiver that Brad Holmes likes. He'll be a guy like Tim Patrick, the guy that's in that, eventually work up to be a 30 to 50 catch guy, reliable when you need him on third down, can be a guy that contested catches. I like what I see. The potential of what you see on film is great. I do think that he's got here's the thing, which when you start digging into film and watching all the games, my God, Arkansas's quarterback was ass last year. My God, he should have been complaining. He should have been out there in front of the media. This is what you guys are doing in NIL era. Give me some guy that can throw me the damn ball. My God, Arkansas's quarterback was pure ass. I was like, this guy sucks. I was like, man, I didn't like watching that film at all. I wanted to turn that shit off. But Tesla, in the couple years he was there, I thought that he was sure-handed. I thought that he was a guy that was competitive. I can high point the ball. I was pretty impressed. Not impressed with the quarterback play. That's why his route tree was limited. That quarterback couldn't do a lot of things. He was limited in what he was capable of. So that's why Isaac Tesla's numbers don't look as good. A lot of it was their crappy offensive line. The quarterback wasn't elite. but Tesla still stood out in a lot of the film. So look, athletic receivers that can get open. Now, it's not a direct comparison based on speed and stuff, but Lions fans will recall Anquan Bolden, just a guy that you can throw the ball to and he'll be open and he'll just catch the ball. A pro. Now, not similar body types, not similar raise, none of that kind of similarities, but in terms of prototypical style, a guy that can get open, trust him, be where you need to be, time the route perfectly, catch the ball. Tesla will be that guy. I think that Brett Holmes found something there with a guy that can work hard. And here's the best part. He wants to do it for Detroit. He's a hometown guy, like all of us. He wants to try his ass off to make sure that he shines for the team that he grew up watching. That extra motivation will get him over the hump on those tough days.
Yeah, Doc, I got to ask you because we had you on before OTAs and you talked about maybe Hendon Hooker, a big player to watch for OTAs. Can you kind of give me an update for how he's looked, good or bad? I've seen some different reporting, maybe not the most positive, Doc, and you just kind of get your take on that whole thing. Is this backup situation more concerning than you thought headed into it?
Now, Jeff, I'm going to be tougher on you. No, I'm just kidding. I wrote an opinion piece at Detroit Lions on SI. I think this year, which is always, I am humble. I am surprised sometimes I'm not surprised by a lot of things. I am surprised how many people will read and comment my opinion pieces, which are always highlighted by my word. The first word of the piece on Twitter will be opinion. This is what I'm thinking. Okay. And so I appreciate that you guys have welcomed me and to say, okay, let me see what this guy's saying. And then you'll debate me on the merits. Here was my opinion that I shared at Detroit Lions on SI after OTAs. I was like, man, there's nowhere you read that Hendon played well because he didn't. And I read everybody's piece. I read everybody's work, top to bottom. And everybody said the same thing because I do like to, I tend to be more hypercritical of players than most people would be because I'm a perfectionist. I want things to go perfectly like a coach would. And so, but sometimes I'm like, probably I'm a little bit tougher on my evaluations than a lot of people would be. And everybody said Hendon Hooker did not look good at OTAs. So my opinion piece was, if you guys recall, Brett Holmes has in the past, and a time when I was out there in 2022, Brett Holmes wiped out the backups. It was Tim Boyle and David Blau. And everybody said, these guys are not good enough. And most of us didn't have the guts to drop them both in our 53-man projections. This looks like the same. Kyle Allen out there at OTAs would have got destroyed by Hassanin. Held the ball too long. Nobody was open. Didn't look good. Hendon Hooker held the ball too long. Didn't look great. Wobbly passes. One pass just, oof. And so right away, what I like to do after a practice is just throw out my first thought without going through the notebook. And one of my first thought was that you can see after practice at Detroit Podcast was Hendon Hooker looks the same to me. Like it looked like the exact same replica that I saw 12 months ago. The exact same thing, holding on to the ball too long. Nobody's open and he's not hitting targets. I was like, show me something, anything. I was looking for anything, any crumb of positivity. It wasn't there. So my opinion piece was, I would be okay with two new quarterbacks. I would be okay if they just took the scraps from the Browns. If it's the loser of the Pickett Flacco battle, bring him on. This one I can't say into the microphone without laughing, but some national reporter said the Lions should peak at Will Levis. I almost died laughing. I said, we're not that desperate, but I would be, in my humble opinion, I welcome you to read it. Feel free, message me at Detroit Podcast if I was way harsh at OTAs, but this is 3 years. And I haven't seen nothing that would indicate to me that there was growth in regards to what I'm seeing at practice. Now, it's early, but Hendon's the backup. He's a backup quarterback, and I think the competition level in the National Football League is super tough. And I would not be surprised, and I would not even mind if they at the end of training camp said we need two new backups and go out and get them, upgrade, because Hendon can be okay. He can be a serviceable backup, but at the same time, if the expectation is, can you find better? I think you can in the landscape of the of the 32 teams, which is Sports Illustrated ranked Hendon Hooker 16th, right in the middle of the backups. So you don't think you could find a top 10 backup that you can get in here and compete? What does it say? And guys, read the tea leaves. They brought in Teddy Bridgewater off the scrap heaps to play. Okay. And then they brought in Kyle Allen to compete with Hendon Hooker. So it's not his job automatically. He's got to earn it. He's just got to show something. Show me anything. And I think starting this next practice, show me something. A deep pass to a receiver that's open. Connect. Let go of the football. Stop holding on to it. Just fire it at somebody, even if it's 1-2, fire the ball. So, in essence, from what the last 7 days were, it wasn't great. Hendon Hooker. You can read my thoughts.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.